Welcome to Prehistoric Kingdom, where guests enter through the void. To make how guests arrive at the park a little more realistic, I built a boat. If you like this alternative take on guest arrival, give the video a thumbs up so more people might see. And since this is only the start of a new park, if you want to see the rest, subscribe to the channel. It helps me out a lot, and in return, I can keep showing you awesome things like this. Hi, welcome. I build crazy things in dinosaur games. I didn't want to waste any more time and instead get into the speed build right away. At the end of this video, I will tell you how long it took me to build this yacht in real time, but for now, I think it'll be interesting for you to leave your best guess in a comment down below, and you can check at the end how close you got to the real-time build. Also, at the end of the video, more gratuitous vanity shots of the end result. Showboating, if you will. For starters, I built the length of the ship in just a straight line, just to get the proportions of it right and not yet bothering with what I consider to be the more intimidating part of this build, which was to curve the bow towards a point. I was really not looking forward to that. This arrival point is actually inspired by something I'm doing in Jurassic World Evolution right now, where I'm building a swamp park and I've built a harbor where guests would arrive by boat. Of course, there isn't a boat there because I can't build a boat in Jurassic World Evolution, but as I was doing that, I figured I can build a boat in Prehistoric Kingdom, so that's where this idea stems from. Now, Jurassic World Evolution, I will say, has better guest entry point in the way of the monorail and even the helipad. I think those are better solutions than the void. I do hope that Prehistoric Kingdom will offer alternatives in the full released version of the game. Either a boat or a train station, you know, pre-made, maybe just outside of our buildable area, just to give it a little bit more realism than what I presume is a miles-long underground tunnel. You can also see that I'm using different types of windows, like portholes and larger windows and narrow windows, just to avoid it looking too uniform and boring. I also want to say, I get this question a lot. People are confused that they can't get Prehistoric Kingdom right now. The Prehistoric Kingdom version that I'm playing is Alpha, which was only available until, I want to say, end of March. I'm not entirely sure, but they cut off access to the alpha version of the game while they're working on the beta version of the game. So you can't get it right now. You have to wait until Q3, which is the third quarter of the year. That's also something that's tripping up a lot of people. Q3 is the third quarter of the year. That's when beta comes out. Now, I've rambled on quite a bit. I figured, you know, the footage kind of speaks for itself, but most people prefer voice over me putting just a soundtrack on top of it, so I'm letting the images speak for themselves mostly, but I will give some commentary as we go through the build. Like now, for example, we've arrived at the point of the build where I'm shaping the bow. It was what I was dreading the most. I wasn't sure if it was gonna work or if I was gonna run out of patience before then, but it did work. Basically, I just shaped one side first and then copied it in pieces over to the other side. Obviously, because of the curve, you can't copy the entire length of the bow, but you can copy the sections that make up the curve. So any point of the bow that isn't curving yet, that doesn't include the curve, you can copy that over to the other side and then piece those sections together in a mirror image. And I think it turned out pretty well. Even though it does rely heavily on the inexact science of eyeballing it, I was pleased with the overall result of the shape of the bow. It's not perfectly symmetrical, I realize that. I probably could have done a better job at that. But at that point, honestly, I wasn't even really sure if the overall build was gonna work. I was reaching a point where I was like, ooh, is this gonna end up looking alright? The reference picture I used had a very straight, up and down straight, I don't even know nautical terms, I'm a fraud. But like the very tip of the bow was very straight in the reference images I used, but I felt like it was cheating a little bit. It's not necessarily unrealistic to have just had a straight bow, but I wanted him to have the bow angled forward a little bit, just because that's more what we think about when we think about the bow of a boat. And also, which is something I referenced in the thumbnail and which you saw at the beginning of this video, everything you see in this build that is white is just the letter I. I used the alphabet. Reading is important, kids. Yeah, there aren't that many building components in the alpha version of the game yet, and we don't have anything stark white. It's all textured either wood or metal, black metal or concrete, which didn't really suit the purpose, so I used just the letter I to make the ship. And I have to like give a standing ovation while sitting down and being lazy and not actually clapping. Where's this going? I have to like you know what? I'm applauding whoever's idea it was to bring the scaling edit tool into this game. It's not something Planet Zoo has, which in terms of building is very comparable to Prehistoric Kingdom, but Planet Zoo does not have the scaling edit, and honestly, I don't know how people live without it. The scaling tool is so important in making builds, in making it easier, or even just making things possible. Like, some things just feel impossible without the scaling edit. It is such a huge help, and honestly, the person who came up with that, kudos to you. You've revolutionized modular building, and I'm pretty sure the people at Frontier like want to kick themselves in the head for not including this this scaling tool. It's so good. It's so good. Another hugely important feature is just being able to copy and paste things you've already done. If you've been watching this speed build, you will have seen me copy and paste a lot of stuff just so you don't have to build every single thing twice, 3 times, 4 times. Just copy the sections that you need and pull them out to wherever you need them. So, for example, a staircase, I only built 1 staircase. In fact, I only built 3 steps of a staircase, and then just copy paste, copy paste, copy paste. And I used that same staircase again in other places, which, by the way, this staircase totally works for guests. They can walk up and down it. Now, if you have some experience in Planet Zoo or in Prehistoric Kingdom, you're probably thinking to yourself, well, duh, but, you know, this is just a little tip for if there are any beginners watching. Make it easy on yourself by copy and pasting certain details. You might feel compelled to make new details so you can make variations and make it that much more interesting, and that's very admirable, and if you want to do that, totally go for it. But by the end of this video, you'll know how long this took me, and then maybe you'll think twice about redesigning details over and over again to have unique features on your own build. So yeah, just copy and paste details like that angled bit at the side of the boat, copy paste those all over the place to add detail without adding extra work for yourself. Now, speaking of copying, my train of thought is zigzagging all over the place. But speaking of copying, I did use reference images of real-life mega yachts for this build, but I wouldn't recommend that you actually try to accurately recreate an image. I feel like that's setting the bar really high, especially with the limited components that we have in the game right now. Just use a reference so you'll get the general idea of things, use inspiration for specific parts of it, but, you know, make it easier for yourself by not trying to emulate the exact reference image that you're using. Yeah, so here you go, copying, and there you have a second or third or fourth or fifth deck to the yacht. And it's really easy to extend it that way. Here you go, we just copy that to extend that out a bit. Now, as for the park that this is going to be a part of, like I said, I don't really have a plan in my head, and I rarely do, really. It's almost always just off-the-cuff building. Whatever I feel like doing, that's what I do next. That keeps me motivated, I suppose. What I do think I want to do for this park and include at the dock. So in the next episode, we'll be building the dock, so the entry point actually functions at an entry point. Obviously, it has to be connected. But what I want to do on the docks is do like a big entrance hall, which also connects to a train station. That might be a little bit too ambitious, but that's what I want to do, to build a train station and have at least one train, at least one track go either across the park or around the park to connect two ends. Or what I also think might be cool is to have like a little hotel section a bit away from the park itself and then connect that to the harbor via a train. I think that would probably make sense for the hotels to be away a little bit from the park itself, but to still be easily connected to the park and to the arrival point. You don't want people, you know, lugging their suitcases all over the place. So obviously I do have some ideas for the park, but what I'm trying to say is not everything is planned out yet, not everything is set in stone. So if you have ideas that you want to contribute to the continuation of this park, please leave those in a comment down below. To fill in those awkward angles, I used the loose beams, as you can see here. So I'm just fitting it to the right angle, making it the right length, and then I can fill in those little gaps. And it is a little bit of work, but as you can see, well, you just copy them a little bit and then you can cover the entire length. Now I'm working on the bow, the deck there. These wooden beams are copied from the stern, which you just saw me place earlier. I copied them, stretched them, put them on the bow, copied them again, put them on the very tip. And here I'm just figuring out how I want to place them. And I decided to place them a little bit lower because the connection otherwise looked a little bit weird. And now I'm just pulling them back so they conform to the angled shape of the bow itself. And that's something I repeated on the other side and for the rest of the bow deck as well. I'm not showing every single action. I'm showing you every single step, but I'm not showing you every single action. You know, it's like when you're following a baking recipe, they might say, roll 3 balls of dough, and they'll only show you one. They're not gonna show you all 3 of them. They just show you one, and that's sort of the same approach to this speed build. Like, I'm showing you all of the steps, but not every single action in that step, because a lot of it is just copying it either on the other side or going up. So yeah, that's why you might think, oh, I didn't see every single thing, but if I were to show you every single thing, this video would be insufferable to watch, which it might already be, even. I don't know, but it would have been very, very, very long. Even at 10 times speed, it would have still been very long. And that's a little clue for how long this took in real life. Now, that being said, how long it took me to build this is probably not representative to how long it would take experienced Planet Zoo builders, for example, to build something. I imagine they would go through things much more quickly, because in spite of my 80-hour practice park, I do still feel like a noob at some points. And I'm sure there are more efficient ways to go about building stuff that I haven't figured out yet, so building this boat might have taken me a little bit longer than someone who could speedrun it, but it was a very long build. So right here I'm just building the helipad. I'm extending the circle out a little bit. And again, this is all just using the alphabet. So the circle itself is made with eyes, and then the H can be scaled up to form the big H. And here you go, I'm just grabbing the stairs from below decks. Not really. I don't know any nautical terms. My nautical knowledge does not extend beyond things I've heard them say in Titanic from 1997. So that's just me being honest, okay? Here I'm placing some railings, and it's really, you know, the devil is in the detail. I really think that small things like this do help sell the overall realism of what you're building. And I'm sure there's a ton, there's definitely a ton more detail that I could have added, but when I tell you how long this took me at the end of this video, you'll understand why I was done, okay? After all that time, I was done adding detail. It was fine. But yeah, if you want to go like next level, there's a ton more teeny tiny details that you could add to this yacht, or to your own take on a yacht to make it look even more realistic. I also felt like that was kind of pointless to do while the game is still in alpha, because we still have quite limited building components. I think once beta comes out, I might build another boat, and maybe then I'll be able to add more details because we have more building components to work with. But for what we have, I figured, okay, this is good enough. You're good, okay? You can stop now. So that's why you might think to yourself, oh, you could have added that, you could have added that. I totally agree. But I was done. Stick a fork in me. I'm done. So what I'm doing right here is I'm following the curve of that black curved wall, because I decided in the end that I just didn't like the black. And again, we don't have stuff like that in white, so I use the eye. Here I'm building a anchor. We don't even really have like nicely curved bits. I realize now, actually, now that I'm talking, I might have been able to use the curved wall and just shrink that down and make it very flat. That might have worked, although it looks segmented with the metal plate, so maybe that wouldn't have worked. But anyway, the anchor turned out pretty good, if I do say so myself, and you know, you're not going to be looking at it too closely. So this is just where the anchor would attach and the chain would go into the bow. Just use your imagination. No matter how complicated a build can get, you still have to use your imagination. Here I'm sort of adding like what's going to be a skylight. And this is also where it started to dawn on me that if I make this interior space bigger, which is what I'm doing right now, I'm sinking the deck lower to make it bigger so we can look further down into the ship. So we could see our guests walk inside of the ship as well. So this area below is actually where guests come through before they come out. And here I'm placing the entry point itself, and now I'm taking the entire group of the boat and I'm shifting it on top of the entry point. I'm just checking to make sure it doesn't come out anywhere. There it is, just checking. And now I'm building like the internal structure. I only did enough to make it functional. I should probably add some railing or something, but there they come, the horde. But it works very well. It was really funny. By the end you can see that the deck is getting pretty crowded with people walking all over, and honestly it just made my heart sing a little bit. I really enjoyed it. I think it's really funny. I didn't expect them to actually use the deck of the boat beyond getting off the boat, but they actually walked towards the stern and stuff. It was really cool. So here I'm just making a way for where the God, I don't know the English word. Oh God. Oh, why do I forget English? You know what this is. I don't know what this is, but you know what this is. Where people exit the ship. Here I'm making a pool at the rear section. Now initially what I was gonna do was raise the water in that section, but I couldn't make that work in the sense that you'd always see a little bit of land around it, no matter how steep it was. So I couldn't make that work, so instead I just decided to go with the water level itself and turn that into a pool. And it could be like a special feature, you know, like the ship doesn't actually have chlorine water on board. It just sort of vacuums up ocean water into a basin and uses that as a pool for people to use while in transit. And that's it. In 20 minutes, I've shown you 6 hours of work. Yes, it took me 6 full hours to build this. Comment down below what you think the name of the yacht should be. I was personally thinking about Pleurodon from my favorite Walking with Dinosaurs episode, but I'm sure you guys can come up with something better, so please share your ideas down below. If you've made it this far, give a girl a thumbs up for the effort, and subscribe for the next episode of this park build, where I'll work on the dock, the arrival hall, and a train station. Thank you very much for watching, and until next time, enjoy the game!